this is the only beginner's class you need. Minimal steps, easy to grasp. If you're a layman watching this, trust me, you're going to get it. Let's get into it. For this video, we'll be focusing solely on skin work. The first thing you want to do is have a clean, clear base because you don't want to have residue or dirt on your face before going in with more products. Apart from that damaging your skin, it could also lead to your makeup not coming out well. So you want to have like a fresh base. And for my skin prep, I like to stick to the 4-step skin prep routine. You don't need to do much with your skin prep. I only like to tone, moisturize, sunscreen, and prime. As a beginner, I'd advise to keep your skin prep very simple. So you want to start by applying your toner all over the face just to give your skin a boost of hydration and bring back that luminosity to your skin that was stripped away with your cleanser. And another thing you want to keep in mind when doing your skin prep is you have to let the products dry down or sit into your skin first before you go on with the next product. So as I've applied this toner now, I'm going to let it dry down a bit before I go into the next product. This is because if you don't let your skin prep dry into your skin a bit, it's going to give this patchiness when you apply your foundation, and it's not going to give like a smooth base. Next, I'm going in with my moisturizer. I'm going to apply this all over the face as well. Another key mistake I see people make is when applying moisturizer, you don't blend it properly into the skin. And so you want to make sure you blend in your moisturizer into your skin very well. Because sometimes when you apply your moisturizer in just a loose manner, most of the time it does not sit into the skin. It leaves this streak on the skin, which when you apply your foundation, you would see that your foundation is not blending it smoothly because your moisturizer did not blend it smoothly. So if you want a smooth base, you have to smooth it. Make sure you smooth your skin prep and then you let this dry down. And next, we're going to go in with our sunscreen. Now, if you have an oily skin, you can skip the moisturizer and just go straight into sunscreen. So you don't get too oily. Your application does not feel too heavy, especially if your sunscreen acts as a moisturizer as well. Like this sunscreen, it gives this luminous finish once I apply it, which acts like a moisturizer. Aside from the protection it gives the skin. Now going into primer, you're going to apply your primer according to your skin type. Now if you're an oily skin girly, use a mattifying primer. If you're a dry skin girly, use a hydrating primer like this. However, if you're a combination skin girl, you can use either a mattifying primer or a hydrating primer depending on the finishing you're going for or your preference. I'm a combination skin, so I'm going to be using a hydrating primer. And for primers, you want to focus this only on the areas where you easily get oily, which is usually on the T-zone. And now what's your T-zone? Your T-zone is basically this area, the forehead, into your nose, into your cupids, into your chin. So I'm now sticking the primer only to those areas because those are the areas that tend to get oily a lot. Now that our skin prep is done, it's important you let it sit into your skin for a while. And if you want to hasten the process, just use a small hand fan to hasten it. But your skin prep has to dry down before you go into foundation. Now a pro tip, if you get oily a lot, after this step, you can go in with your translucent powder into a powder puff, just off the excess so it's smooth, and just apply a thin layer, like a very thin layer of translucent to mattify the areas where you get oily, like your T-zone. Now, because of the beginner's class, I'm going to be using one beauty sponge to do my entire base because I also want to show you how you can use one sponge to actually achieve a lot on your base. And also because I feel like a beauty sponge is way easier to work with as a beginner than a brush. Now for foundation, you want to take it step by step. Instead of going in to apply like a dot of foundation all over the face before you blend, take it section by section. So I'm going to start by applying it on this area first. And for your foundation, you do not need too much. 2 pumps of foundation is okay for an entire face. And then I'm going to go in with a damp sponge. This is a damp sponge. I already soaked the sponge in water, squeezed out the water and dried it with paper towel. So it's a damp sponge. So you want to make sure you use a damp sponge, not a dry sponge. And the general rule for blending is before you blend, always go into the product you want to blend. In this case, the foundation now. Tap into that product so you have some of it on the sponge before you go into now blend. This is because if you're going with an empty sponge to blend, most of the time it takes away the product rather than blending it in. So if you do this before blending, it will blend in the product rather than taking it away. So when you apply your foundation, focus majorly to this lower part of the face and then take the remnant upward, because for the other parts of the face, we're still going to go in with concealers and bronzers and whatnot. So you don't want to apply so much products there yet because other products are going to go there. Now take it to the second section and then tap in as well from the lower part of the face. You see that I'm not taking another set to apply. I'm just going to take the remnant on this sponge and go upward because we don't want something heavy on the upper part of the face. And then don't forget to go into your neck as well, so it rhymes with your face. For my nose, I'm just going to go in with just a little bit. And now for the forehead, I don't apply so much to the forehead. What I do on the forehead is I mostly apply what is left on the sponge to the forehead, and I focus in majorly to this middle part because this area is going to be full of bronzer anyway, so you don't need so much product on the forehead because half of the forehead is bronzing. Now this is all for foundation. You can see how smooth the foundation looks like because we let our skin prep dry down and we properly prepped our skin before going in the foundation. So you cannot be in a hurry when prepping your skin. Now note the part I used for the foundation. For concealing, you want to go in with a concealer that is 1 or 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. But as a beginner, I'd advise you stick to a concealer that is not too far from your skin tone, so to be easier for you to work with. You only want to apply it to the inner and outer corner. You do not need so much concealer. Literally, this is all you need. Just going to apply. Now once this is done, we'll go into the rest of the face to highlight. Facing forward, where light naturally hits on your face is where you apply your highlight. So I'm going into my T-zone now, your pupils, and apply it to the nose as well. Now for my forehead, I don't like to go in with the spatula because sometimes when I apply it with that, it leaves a mark on my forehead. Now for concealing, to get the best coverage out of your concealer, you want to leave it for a while for it to get tacky, kind of sticky. So now we're going to let the under eye get tacky while we blend out the T-zone because the T-zone does not need that full coverage. This is the area that needs the full coverage. Now to blend, we're going in with the other side of the sponge. Now flipped over. This is the side I'm going to use for my concealer. And I'm tapping some of the concealer to the sponge as usual because we want to blend in. So I'm going to start by blending nose into my forehead. So for the forehead, I just go in with my blender directly and apply the highlight and then blend out this area. And when you're blending, try to maintain your blending exactly to the area that you applied. You can see the way I'm blending it and I'm consistently blending to this area where I applied. I'm not taking it outside the areas I applied. I'm blending it exactly where I applied. So this will help you in direction. So you don't blend all over the place and you don't lose direction of your makeup. Now while this is still drying down, we're going to go in with our bronzer. So define your face. You're going to use this part of your ear to mark it. This flap on your ear is where you're going to use to mark it. So you're going to start from that area, drag it down to this point. This point, meaning you see your cheekbone here, that is this place that is shining. That's where we're going to stop. So you're not extending it past this. Also going to do the same for here. I'm going to apply a light layer here and here. So I'm going to be going in with a brush like this. I'm just going to use that to apply it to the nose from the eyebrow. I'm just going to drag it down to the nose. And for the nose, you don't want to apply too much bronzer because you don't need your nose very contoured or very bronzed. You want your nose to give more natural, so just apply a light layer. Now to blend, we're also going to be using our sponge. I'm going to be using this part of the sponge to blend out the bronzer. And as usual, I'm going to tap some of the product into the sponge. When you want to blend, don't blend downward. Tap it and blend it upward as if you're going into your cheek. So I'm blending it upward instead of downward. So you want to maintain your blender. Make sure you maintain your blender to the area where you applied. So look at how it looks now. Very easy to blend out. I'm just going to blend out this area as well. This area also does not need so much bronzing. For my forehead, I'm going to go into the bronzer. Your forehead does not need so much bronzing. That's why I went into the bronzer directly. So I can be able to control the amount I apply. So I'm just going to do this. Apply it to the temple, around the forehead, into the temple. So here, this area. So you're applying to this area and you're leaving out the middle. Make sure you don't take your sponge into the middle. Just going to focus it around these areas. Just like so. That's literally all your forehead needs. And for my nose, I'm going to pinch this and just go into the edges and blend it out lightly. And this does not need so much blending. 2 or 3 taps and it's blended. Just tap it in. But now the under eye is already tacky. Now we're going to go into blending the under eye, starting from the edges here. This is the edge here first. Blend out this edge here. So you see that there are no edges anymore, just like so. Once you blend this out, you're then going to go inward and blend it together. And what this does is, if you go in directly to just blend it without blending out the edges first, you're most likely going to lose direction. What I just did now will help you maintain the areas you applied the concealer, so you don't start struggling when you're blending your concealer. When you're blending, make sure you don't over blend, so you don't blend away the product. Just a few taps. Once it's blended, you leave it. So once it's blended, you can see that there's a harsh line on my forehead here. You can see the demarcation between the highlight and the bronzer. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer part and just go around the edges of this, just around the edges. I'm not taking it in, and just diffuse it. You can see now that there are no harsh lines anymore. Now you can see that there are also harsh lines here, and to blend out this harsh line, go into the foundation part of your sponge and just tap on it lightly just to diffuse the harsh lines, so there are no harsh lines anymore. If you're a beginner, I'd advise you stick to using just one concealer to conceal your brows. But if you want to brighten, I'm going to show you how you can brighten your eye. You're going to go in with a lighter concealer, 2 to 3 shades lighter than your skin. You're just going to apply this to the inner corner only. You're sticking it only to this part. Now I'm going to go into our blush. For my cream blush, I'm going to be applying with the opposite part of the bronzer part. Flip it to the other side. I'm just going to tap it into the cream blush. To apply my blush, I'm going to apply it above this contour. You can see where the contour is now. I'm applying it directly to my cheekbone here. This is my cheekbone here. This little thing shining here is my cheekbone, where your bone is. And I'm just going to go and apply from there and go upward. Take it upward. So you're not dragging it down, you want to give your face a lift. So try to avoid dragging your products downward. Instead, go upward with your products, and then the remnant on the sponge will then apply to the temple. And for you to have better control of your cream product, always apply the product directly to your sponge first before you go into blend. Because if you're not used to the amount of product to apply on your face and you just go in with the blush or with the product, you might end up applying a lot, and that way you lose control of what you are doing. So if you're using like a liquid blush like this, just apply some to your hands, tap the sponge to the product, and then apply. That way you have better control of the product. Now once I've applied this, I'm going to apply the remnants also to my nose, just for it to give that cohesive look. Now that this is done, I'm going to go back into my concealer, and I'm just going to blend it out from the edges, and I'm also going to focus it to the inner corner of my eye, and then use the remnants to blend outward. So most of the product stays here. That's what will actually give your face a snatch. Now you see this harsh line here from the concealer. I'm just going to go in with the bronzer part, hold it like this, and just tap on that to diffuse that concealer there. Now to set, you can either use your powder puff, your brush, or your beauty sponge, but I prefer to use my beauty sponge because it gives more natural, because of the dampness on the sponge already. So that dampness on the sponge already helps the powder melt into the skin very well. That's why I like to use a sponge. I'm using the Huda Beauty Easy Bake in banana bread. And for a setting powder, you either want to go in with a translucent powder, that is a transparent powder that has no color, or going with a setting powder that is very close to your skin tone, so it gives more natural. And before you set, make sure you go back into your under eye to blend out any crease lines under your eye, because if you don't blend this out and you go ahead to set with powder, you're going to set creases. So whatever you set is what you get. So if you go ahead to apply your powder on creases, you're going to get creases. So you want to make sure it's smoothened out before you go in with your powder. For your powder, don't apply it like this. Make sure you dust off the excess and let it be smooth, just like this, and immediately going to set. So make sure you get into all the creams very well. So you can see how that is giving soft and natural. So you want to make sure the under eye is well mattified before you go into other areas. I'm just going in with another layer here, a light layer, just to mattify the area even more, because it's not properly mattified. You want to make sure you're tapping into everywhere you see cream, so it's properly mattified with powder. I'm going to go ahead and set the other areas where we highlighted, which is forehead, the lower cupids, and the chin. And that is all for setting. Setting is basically just mattifying your creams with powder. Now, as a beginner, I'd advise you stick to just setting, because that is just easier and quicker for you. But if you want to bake, I'm going to show you how to bake. Baking is basically brightening. Setting is mattifying. Baking is basically brightening. So you're going to apply baking to the areas where you want brightened. So I'm going to show you how to bake. I'm just going to tap into the powder. You can use the same powder, but we're going in with a larger chunk. We're still going to dust off excess onto the smooth like this, and then apply to the inner corner. I'm mostly going to focus most of the powder here because this is where I want my brightness focused. I'm just going to spread the remnants out. So you basically want to bake only the areas where you want brightened, which is usually the under eye. And most times I like to also bake my nose because I want that area to stand out. Yeah. But you can skip this part if you don't want to do baking. It's totally not compulsory. Now you can see the way I use just one mixing blender to do the majority of my base already. Now we're going to be going into brushes. What we do is we just set the creams on the highlighted area. Now to set the bronze area as well, we're going to go in with powder bronzer. And I'm using this brush from Morphe and Ariel set A3.2 brush, and I'm just going to tap in to the powder bronzer. For your bronzer, you're going to apply it the same area you applied your cream bronzer. So what you're basically doing is you're basically setting the cream bronzer you applied with powder bronzer, just like you set your highlighted area with setting powder, you get? So I'm going to set the cream bronzer in the same manner. Just stick to the areas you apply, don't go past those areas. And you're going to tap in, you're not dragging, you're not rubbing, you want to tap in, go in tapping motion. I'm using the leftover on the sponge here, or brush. I'm going into the forehead a little, apply to the temple, apply around. I'm just gonna apply around as well. So basically we're just setting our cream bronzer. Now I'm going into my eyeshadow brush. You can use any eyeshadow brush. So far it's a blending brush that looks like this. Into the bronzer, I'm gonna set the nose as well, into my brow. So it gives that natural look. And you want to make sure you maintain it to as close to the bridge of your nose as possible, so it gives that slim look. Now that our bronzer is set, we're going to go in to set our foundation using a pressed powder. And I'm using the A21 brush, same brush set. Now for your powder, you're going to apply it with a little technique. We're going to focus immediately to the areas where you've not set at all. You know, we've set the highlighted areas, we've also set the bronzed areas. Now you want to focus this majorly to the area where you've not set at all, which is the foundation, the areas where you applied the majority of the foundation to, which is here. And focus your powder more to this area, into your neck. And then take the remnants and just go over your bronzer so it's diffused a bit, and you're using the remnants over it, not the full powder, so it does not cover up that bronzer entirely. I'm gonna do the same here as well. Just focus it here. Do it with your powder, and for your forehead you tap the powder majorly to the middle first and take the remnants to the side so it does not cover up the bronzer we did there. And then I'm going to cover it lightly with my nose, just lightly. Apply here and here as well. Now we'll set our concealer, we'll set our cream bronzer, we'll set our foundation. Now to the blush, we're going to set it using powder blush. I'm using the A22 brush, and we're going to apply it same area we applied our blush, right here on your cheek. And what I like to do is I like to focus more to this outer corner and then drag the remnants in like this. Focus it more here and then drag the remnants in. But you're going to make sure you apply it to this area, your cheek bone here. That's where you're going to apply it, so you're not going downwards. I'm taking the remnants into my temple, just like how I did the creams. So you notice that there's a pattern in the way I'm applying my products. I'm applying this in the same pattern I applied my creams. That's all you need to do. Follow the same pattern you applied your creams to apply your powders. Now I'm going to apply remnants here. And applying to the temple and to the nose also gives it like a cohesive look. It just makes it look like everything is in sync. Now that we're done setting the entire face, we're going to go back into the under eye. Remember, we baked the under eye and we'll have a little powder there. So we're going to dust off that powder, and I'm just going to tap in to some of the powder just as we do when we want to blend. Dust it out and just press it in. So I don't like to swipe it away. I like to press it in because I want to maintain that brightness to my eye. I'm going to focus it majorly to the inner part of the eye here, just like we did our concealer and the powder, and just blend out the remnants into the blush. So now the blush looks much more seamless. Now once we're done with that, so I'm going to set according to the finishing we want. If you want a dewy finish, use a dewy setting spray. But if you want a mattifying finish, use a mattifying setting spray. So I'm going to go in with this matte setting spray. So I'm going to put it away from my face a bit and just set. And be generous with your setting. The highlights, I like to use a dewy highlighter rather than a loose or baked highlighter because I feel like the dewy highlighter gives more natural and it's easier to work with. So at the beginning, I'd advise you to use a dewy highlighter. Going back into the sponge, into the blush part of the sponge, I'm really going to dip it a bit into the highlighter. Now you want to focus the highlights on your cheekbone here. You can see when you're seeing the natural highlight already without even applying highlighter here. So you're going to tap on, you can see what that did. just elevated it, and then go upward, you know, dragging it down upward. Then you're taking some, you can see here too, has a shine, a little shine. Tap on it, it's just gonna elevate that a bit, and then goes into the brow bone as well, and tap some there. So it gives like a C. This is what you want for your highlight. And once we are done applying this, we're not just going to leave it like this. If you look very well, you will see that there's a demarcation between the highlighter and my under eye. I don't know if you guys can see it clearly, but there's like a line, a harsh line here between this and my under eye. So I'm going back into my under eye brush. This brush is from Bell, and I'm just going to tap into it. I'm not putting any powder on it, just the brush itself, and just see how it just diffused that harsh line. You can no longer see the harsh line between the highlighter. I'm going to go into the nose and just tap here and here. I'm going back in with my bronzer brush just to bring it a bit together. The highlighter I just did, just to bring it more together. That is literally all you need for your base as a beginner. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.